December 3rd, 2018. This is the Board of Trustees, Miami Township meeting. Tonight we have 3 trustees. We have fire chief. We have road administrator. Fiscal officer. And we swapped tonight's zoning inspector meeting for next December 17th, I think. So,
I can math.
I would entertain a motion to adopt minutes meeting for November 19th, 2018.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Crockett moves, Mr. Hollister seconds. Any further discussion regarding those minutes? Hearing none, may we vote please?
Mr. Crockett?
Yes.
Mr. Mutcher?
Yes.
Mr. Hollister?
Yes.
We also have minutes this evening for a special meeting, November 28th. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Mr.
I'll
Hollister
second
moves,
that.
Mr. Crockett seconds. Any further discussion regarding those minutes? Hearing none, may we vote please?
Mr. Hollister?
Yes.
Mr. Crockett?
Yes.
Mr. Mutcher?
Yes. Now entertain a motion to approve the payment of bills in the amount of $32,707.48. General fund contributions $35,43.14. Fire fund $16,689.57. Cemetery $132.08. EMS building $8,574.15. Capital project 0. Is there a motion?
Yes.
Who?
I think we spoke up simultaneously. I'll defer to
Alright.
seniority basis.
Make that motion.
Mr.
I'll
Crockett
second.
moves, Mr. Alter seconds. Any further discussion regarding payment of those accounts? Hearing none, may we vote please?
Mr. Mutcher?
Yes.
Mr. Crockett?
Yes.
Mr. Hollister?
Yes.
Correspondence for the period, we have OTA grassroots clipping. We have Council Land Trust Fall 18 newsletter. We have some information from propane supplier, Sunrise Cooperative. We have the most recent information packet from regional planning for a meeting that we had last week. We have Greene County Council on Aging Insights newsletter. We have an announcement from the Greene County Public Health Department regarding their achieving accreditation status, which had not been done in the past, which is really good for them and for the county. We have the November Board of Health minutes for their meeting, their Health Commission's report. A correspondence from Richard's off about the Planning Commission, email back and forth between myself and our website designer who I'm going to have give us an estimate on doing some website design on our new website, which is now active.
It's alpha instead of beta.
It is alpha instead of beta.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah. And it includes the Miami Township annual report for 2017.
Nice.
It includes a new menu drop-down for township finances, which I have high hopes that Don, you will be able to provide the file for that. So I can
Okay.
put it on, because nothing currently exists.
And then there's the zoning. The new zoning changes are still being
Wow. Look at this.
retyped.
And my township comprehensive plan is also now available at the request of the
Fancy.
Richards. So, the link doesn't currently work, the fun facts. It worked in development, but it doesn't work live, so it's got to be
I withhold payment for
worked
it.
out, yeah.
This is fun facts or fund?
Oh. No, what was it called? It was fun, no.
This isn't the famous Township quiz.
No, this is the fast facts. Is it
Oh, fast facts.
Fast facts.
Fast
That's what it is. We had a number of submissions to our online burial search genealogical page for, not corrections, but additions to genealogical information for.
I think that's cool. I didn't read them, but just that people have replied to the publicity.
I agree. I'm excited. I don't know why I've got an order receipt. Well, I guess that just came in, that would just go with Margaret. That's for a payment for our online backup carbonite. A reminder for the Greene County Township Association Christmas party on the 11th. That would be a week from tomorrow. Hopefully everybody's RSVP'd themselves. There's supposed to be some more in here. I probably will get to them. Oh yeah, there they are. The fire rescue for Sunday the 16th. Our RSVPs have already, oh no, they're still good until Wednesday. So if there's anybody,
No, they were due.
Wednesday the 5th it said.
Yeah, with a little sticker on the side.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute, November 30th.
November 30th, so
Okay,
if you haven't RSVP yet, it's almost too late. Anyone?
I think we called, I left a message for dinner.
Oh,
Like that.
well, that's the problem, Mark.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, sorry
Party of-
about that. Two,
two, awesome.
yeah,
All right, cool.
yeah.
Dana, you wanna come too? Free food?
We have two?
Sure, yeah, why not? Prime rib,
Mhm.
and some kind of chicken thing.
So have you now received responses from everybody?
I think we now have everybody.
Okay,
Mhm.
very good.
And Dan,
I'll cross that off my
What?
list.
Hotel.
at the hotel. You gotta come dressed in 1850s person now, it's a period.
Are you serious?
No.
You should have said yes.
Get out the old tri-corner hat, obviously.
I think my suit's probably 1850s, 1950s.
It doesn't be that fancy.
Had an interesting email from bikeohio.com about roundabouts, you know, good old roundabouts, and how bicyclists can get around a roundabout without being summarily squished halfway around the roundabout.
And how,
Hey, I already did this
Maybe some township roundabouts.
one. December. Ray Hensley's annual Christmas party on the 7th, that's Friday. That's a good one, says.
Yeah, they're loading up on the Christmas parties.
Yeah, says Dan. Dan likes those. A correspondence between David Diamond of Agraria and myself about being on the agenda for the 17th meeting. Yeah, I sent him a reminder that he promised to give us prior information about the application and any draft resolution they had, so hopefully we will be seeing that pretty quick. An email regarding the work that Mike Harding did on our redesign for the township website. A reminder from Kim Lehman, our MVRPC, about a Wednesday, December 5th, stormwater
I will be there.
meeting that Mr. Hollister will attend. A message from Dan Montgomery from, I guess this was just today, this isn't actually on the list, but I asked him just to make sure, I asked him to check the progress of his Valiant Engineering work. It's still on schedule for a 1/16/19 ad insertion, I asked. His response was, Chris, that's our goal. We've been working with Kevin, our best friend, to get the estimate updated and should have something on that within the next day or two. He's got his guys revising wall sections this week and hope to have that updated with the base plans to the consultants by the end of the week, so they can update theirs, and the goal is to submit the revised documents to USDA by January 4th for review, and then able to advertise for the first time on the 16th, so
And the
it sounds like they've.
tentative date for on-site, what do you call it, when you, contractors are invited to come look at the,
Who has their calendar in front of them?
Dun, 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 I got it.
All right, so the 16th, and then what's the next, it's a week after the 16th.
23rd,
Okay, so,
that's the Wednesday. They're gonna run it 16, 23, and 30, right?
so the,
So it was the following week.
so the meeting, the pre-bid construction meeting should be on the 23rd.
Okay.
It would fall on the second meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so you're saying January 23rd.
No, it's a Wednesday. The first is a Tuesday.
What day does the 16th fall on?
Wait, what,
Wednesday.
yes, I am. Okay, it's a Wednesday, the 16th.
Okay. Any further correspondence? This afternoon or this evening? Hearing none, we'll move to the fire department report.
All right. Since the last board meeting, there have been 33 EMS calls, 7 fire calls, and we've conducted 3 fire safety inspections. I forgot to put this in the report, so I'll just tell you. I just wanted to thank Lieutenant Ayers and firefighter Brett Houseman for spreading holiday cheer.
Very nice.
In here on the outside of the building, just a word of warning, if you buy the new fancy LED Christmas lights, last forever because they're LEDs, don't get the bottom of the barrel cheap ones because we bought them last year and half of them burned out.
Really?
Yeah,
And
and only
they
half
last forever.
the strands. So like half of the strand worked, but the other half didn't. So I authorized them to go buy some better ones because they started talking about splicing wires together. They burned down the firehouse, so but a big thanks to them. So it was cheerful. Also, something else I forgot to put on here. I've got 2 people finishing up EMT class, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. They should test successfully Casey Brewer and pull on the weekends. So. Holiday party at Saturday. No, it's not. It's Sunday, December 16th. 5 to 6. At 5 to 6 is the social/cocktail hour. Dinner is 6-ish at the Mills Park Hotel.
Seriously? I didn't notice the timing. You mean it's not start at 7 and eat at 9 and get out of there at 3?
Well, it's a Sunday, so we have to.
I see, okay.
Apparently, people book things really early. The hotel. So. And then, last but not least, we're once again sponsoring New Year's Eve celebration downtown. So look forward to another exciting time with hot chocolate and whatever crazy things I can come up with, and we'll have the staff out there, and we're gonna go off flawlessly.
I'm sure it will.
It was really cold last year.
It was insanely cold last year. Yeah.
Crazy.
It was, don't open your door and go outside cold.
It was
last
that
year.
cold last year. As Johnny
showed up
Burns
anyway.
from Public Works reminded me the other day, we were talking about the event this year. And I said, God, it was so cold. He's like, oh, was it? I was in the cab of my heated truck the entire time. Great, thanks. So, we did learn we need more hot chocolate, so we burned through that quickly. So probably 65 degrees at this one, so without champagne instead. Have a champagne line, Margaret? Is there a champagne line in the budget?
I don't think so.
Oh!
No,
All right,
you
sparkling
don't know.
wine, sorry.
You have to study a little more closely.
Then, that's it.
That's it?
That's all I got. Other than items you want to talk about, but,
Florida was good. Did you want to report on that?
yeah, very good conference. Weather was wonderful.
When are we gonna talk about the real item?
Let's talk about that right now. What do you think?
And then Chris and I went to a meeting this morning, I assume that's what the real item is.
We went to a meeting this morning at Bath Township with representatives from Bethel Township, Beaver Creek Township, the city of Xenia, in as much as, she works for?
She works technically for the police department, she's the 911 coordinator and dispatch supervisor.
For the city of Xenia and Greene County for that matter. And the 3 trustees from Bath Township. And fifth officer, it was an actual public meeting for them. They reviewed their status of where they are regarding fire and EMS protection for Bath Township, which they currently contract with the city of Fairborn for, and the city of Fairborn has let them know that effectively January 1, they will be doubling their cost for service from roughly $650,000 a year to $1,100,000 a year for 2019, and that's to go up another $200,000 or $300,000.
To 1.2 million for the rest of the term, which is a 5-year contract, so 2020 through 2022, I think.
So they have been working with the townships that were at the table for the past, well, quite a while actually, because they had a feeling this was coming the last time they negotiated a contract with Fairborn, and because they upped their, I don't remember the numbers, they upped their per run rates substantially, and basically told them, get ready folks, because this is gonna be cheap the next time. And so, make a long story short, we have all agreed in principle, we the townships involved, Bethel Township, Clark County, Beaver Creek Township, Green County, and Minot Township, Green County, to provide service, fire and EMS service to different parts of Bath Township, which were broken down into zones, and those zones were presented here in the packet from Bath Township. We've talked about that before, and we have worked out an arrangement agreeable to both Miami Township and Bath Township for providing that service, and it's basically for I'm not gonna put that, for $110,000 a year. We'll provide service to Zone 2, is it
Zone 3, or Zone 3.
Zone 3. Zone 3 averages 10 runs per month. That average based on the last almost 4 years worth of service from the Fairborn records. We'll do fire inspections as necessary, correct?
I'm not sure.
That's what's in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't have a chance to talk about that this morning, but I wasn't sure.
Inspections to maintain compliance with the state fire
Oh,
code
there you
and
go.
Bath Township zoning,
So,
that's what it says.
bring Richard on.
That is fire inspection services that have to do with complying with zoning.
Just in Bath Township.
Just in the Zone 3.
And I
Portion.
have seen two different outlines. That is, there's a pocket development on the east side of Trevine Road that this map
Yeah, the other map they just.
is not, and then
Yeah,
the
this
other
is
map
more
that just
accurate.
zipped by,
Yeah.
and it made sense that this,
Anything that's within the city of Fairborn remains within the city of Fairborn. So pretty much any of the residential developments that have popped up in recent years are either in the city or have been annexed into the city. Plus the CMAX plant, or whatever it is out there.
so, here's the,
Yeah, they did, he keeps doing that.
well, just so we're clear.
Yeah, that's city of Fairborn, so. We will go out as far as Dr. Grombeck's house.
I don't have any basis other than your competence to judge the price, $110,000. Do you have a work paper or were there three key factors of consideration that, how do we come up with this number?
Initially, 4 years ago, I think, when we first had this discussion, we talked about, at that time, the city of Fairborn was billing them a fixed rate per every call they went on. It's $1,300 or $1,200 or $1,300. So we ran some calculations and figured out that that's a lot of money for a fire and ambulance call. So we said we could do it at that time, I think, for $650. Round two came up, and I think we increased our price to 700 or 750, inflation. And this time, we were talking about doing a per call billing, but the other two entities, Beaver Creek and Bethel Townships, were just gonna do flat rate billing, just a yearly rate. In a preliminary meeting, one of the Bath Township trustees told us that Bethel was looking at something like $1,050 per call, that they would use then to say, okay, we're gonna average this many, and then they told us, so we think you're actually gonna underbill us. Number one's to be underbilled, we said, well, so,
We can bill you one better.
came up with a higher number, and it worked out to be 110, which conveniently helps to cover the cost associated with adding a part-time position to help this increase in drugs, which is approximately 104,000, so it gives us a little wiggle room. Plus, we get to collect all the billing money, EMS billing money. Our zone in Bath Township's profile is very similar to my township in Yellow Springs, so it's middle to upper incomes with mostly insured people.
The 10 runs a month, that's EMS runs, okay?
Yeah, I mean, it's 10 run, it averages 9.53 or something calls a month in that zone. We have the largest, of the three entities, we have the largest geographic area, but the smallest number of calls. Bethel's zone has about 12, which I was surprised about. And Beaver Creek's is 22 or 24 or something.
Now, this record, am I right to interpret this, that there's the listing addresses that had runs,
And when they were.
and when they were? Do we do that, just off topic, do we do that for our own runs?
Yeah, we have the capability to do that, yeah. We don't typically run an address report just because people don't want their addresses out. I mean,
Right. No, I'm
but for this purpose, it helped us to take a look.
impressed, yeah. I'm dominating here, I don't need to be the only one talking.
Oh, no, that's fine.
The EMS billing, what did we rough out, might produce 30,000+ additional per year.
Yeah, I mean, if we're at 10 calls a month, let's say, and this year is tracking higher than the previous ones, but who knows? If we're at 10, you figure 70% are gonna be EMS, probably 80% are gonna be EMS. And of those 80%, maybe, like you say, 8 calls are EMS, maybe 6 are gonna be transports. And that's the ones we get the bill for, 5 to 6. At an average rate of $450 a month, $450 a call. And it all depends, we'll get a better idea obviously once we start and see. Yeah, it's about $32,000 a year. And that's assuming everyone's gonna be middle. And if, the powers that be are shining down on us and everyone who lives in Bath Township is insured by the Confectioners Union Pension Fund, then they'll pay the full price, and that's $800 a pop. So. But I'm not holding my breath on that one.
So in addition to that, and there's so much wiggle room on some of these numbers, but you've got to be able to rough it out somehow. We've kind of figured out that of the let's call it $100,000, just roughly, the $100,000 that we're going to receive in order to put staff on to respond for the year. Bath Township is only going to use approximately 20% of that personnel time. So let's say that's $20,000. So the additional $80,000 is, for lack of a better word, found money for Miami Township for personnel costs, which is not really a bad thing. It's not really a bad thing.
Considering the cost keeps going up.
Yeah. So that helps. This is a one-year agreement, although it is a permanent plan, but this is a one-year agreement, and we've asked for it to be a one-year agreement, so it gives us the flexibility of of changing things as we go along. And the one thing I had thought about that really isn't addressed in this is like a major structural fire, you know, where we would have to commit large amounts of personnel time and equipment being used and all those sorts of things. Not to mention, we would be responsible for coordinating the mutual aid for something like that, no small amount of time and effort for that. So that really hasn't been addressed in this, so we thought we'd make it a 1 year kind of open-ended, you know, and we'll take a look at the next time and see how well things are working. But we are committed, I hate to use the P word, permanently.
Starting January 1, is that right?
January 1, yeah.
If this agreement goes forward.
To this plan.
So you have, the Bethel Township Board of Trustees is already committed, they're all set. Some of them were sent like 3 years ago. And Beaver Creek Township meets next Monday, but it sounded like the administrator and their trustees are all on board. Chief Boss has kept them in the loop, and Dave doesn't really do anything unless he's got all his ducks in a row, so.
Now, we're under no obligation to agree to this agreement tonight at our next meeting, just, you know, by January 1st. However, I personally, and the chief agrees with me, that the sooner we do this, the better, because it will allow him to begin recruiting this new personnel as soon as possible, because he's going to have to provide 7 additional staff members to, 6 additional staff members to,
Which isn't as bad as 7.
no, it's one less,
But that's,
by January 1st.
they would be
It's on the
making
sunny
up
side.
the equivalent of one full-time person.
Correct, yeah.
Just for clarification, it's involving, to cover this, is it Bath Township that is the area mostly?
Yeah, it's Bath Township.
And then, but Bethel Township is,
Bethel Township's covering a
Another
portion.
so it's Bethel, Miami, Beaver Creek, and Bath.
I mean, well, the 3 of us are covering Bath Township.
Bath Township themselves
Bath
is
Township
not,
doesn't have their own deal.
Right, they currently contract with the city of Fairfield,
Right.
who covers all of it, but they'll be splitting it up into 3 zones that will cut, that each of us will cover.
Thank you.
Mark, I haven't heard you say anything other than that you talked about it 2 years ago.
Actually, I would have to agree with you that I'll go along with whatever Colin recommends, cost-wise and effort-wise. It's been my experience that you know what you're doing.
Thanks. Thank you.
Rob,
one additional thing to go along with this, you know, we're gonna put this forward this evening, but something that we need to also consider is if we do, we need to agree with the potential of offering an incentive, basically a signing bonus for this new personnel coming on board to help move things along in the next 3 weeks. And Colin's done a little initial research on signing bonuses for staffing, and I would like to give him that flexibility to use this $110,000. And I forget, what's it broken down, is it 50 right up front, or?
Yeah, it was,
54.
yeah, it was 54, or
56, 56, January 15th, interesting date, and.
that's why they're, I'm assuming they're.
Yeah, could be, and 54,000 on July 15th.
oh, the rest of the due check.
Yeah.
Checks in there.
Is there, have we used signing bonuses? I mean, I'm still in this
No,
volunteer mode.
no, we've never used signing bonuses before, but the market right now for new fire recruits, paid people is extremely tight.
These would be all, assuming, I mean, why assume all part-time? Why not one person full-time or?
It's actually cheaper for us to do it as part-time
Okay.
than full-time, just because we don't have to worry about benefits.
Yeah, these would be 24-hour per week
Mhm.
personnel, which would bring them under that threshold of providing both medical and police and fire, right?
Correct.
That police and fire
Yep.
threshold.
Yeah, and it'd be at $11.50 an hour, which is the low end, unless they're already, if they're also a fire inspector, they get $1 an hour extra, because that's what we've always done. But the signing bonuses would help us overcome that lower end. And,
You probably just said it, I missed the signing bonus, what's the amount you think, or do you rather not say?
Yeah, let's not.
yeah, I mean, I've
Okay.
gotta do further research,
Yeah.
on that and see, but I found one policy that's a state policy, so it's at least applicable to government agencies. I mean, it's not our state, but at least it's written in state ease, government ease, so. But I think that would
Although
definitely
we
help
don't
us.
have a precedent, there are other departments that.
Yes, there are precedents, for them. I mean, a lot of places will lure people with the promise of training, but we want people already trained, so that we don't have to train them. So the signing bonus helps, because we don't have any benefits to offer them other than, yeah, it's fun here. I mean, maybe Karen can put together like a Yellow Springs welcome package to them, but
A holiday, a good holiday party next year.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, any other questions for Colin or myself about this?
I have another question.
Okay.
When you talk about a major fire incident, whatever
Mhm.
the phrase was, does that mean such as the two we've had this year? or-
Exactly, something like that.
where the fire relit and had to go back
Yep.
and so this agreement, there's nothing that mentions it, it's just that it's understood that after a year, that might be one of the experiences that would lead us to price things differently.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is on paper in as much as it's in this.
That question and answer
Yeah.
memo,
Right.
but it's not in the formal
Correct.
agreement.
And I think they're expecting, I mean, I don't wanna say expecting, but they understand that at least for us in Bethel, there might be some changes. And possibly for Beaver Creek, but Beaver Creek's obviously significantly bigger than both of us. As Chief Annenbaugh said this morning, and this is
Small
maybe
potatoes.
3 to 4% additional run volume for them, and they just put on 9 additional people. So it's kind of like, whatever. It's a little bit more, obviously, work for us in Bethel, and Bethel's busier than we are. I mean, Jacob said we do 8 calls a day or something like that, 8 or 9, and we do 3, so. Definitely for both of us, there's some flexibility that we can adjust. And Beth, they seemed happy. I mean, I don't know what the other guys have quoted, but between the 3 of us, they seem very happy with what they're all quoting, so.
So, when you would respond to a major fire like that, all 3 departments would respond?
It will depend on how we set up the individual incident responses. So, the city of Fairborn, once the contract ends, from what we can piece together, will not be assisting in the area they formerly covered unless it's some horrible incident. So, I mean, we probably work closely with, Township, Beaver Creek a little bit, some of the Clark County entities, Houston, we still work with them. Mad River, thank you, Mad River, and possibly even Bethel.
Yeah.
I've never really worked with them, I've known Jacob for a few years, but, so yeah, but I've gotta figure that out. I was, Mike Bogan, who's a lieutenant in Zenith City, was there this morning, but he does all the run cards, what they're called, for in the computer dispatch system, that says who gets called when, and all that kind of stuff. So we talked briefly, and it doesn't sound like it's a really big hassle. I spoke with Chief Kyle Miller over at Cedarville today, also, who does a lot of that also, so it's not a big deal.
And what, didn't we find out that Right Pat was in the mutual aid system?
Yes. Yeah, Red Patterson is in the regional mutual aid agreement.
And the fire chief for Bethel Township is also the fire chief
Yes.
for Wright Pat, which is handy.
Yes, it is very handy. Yeah, his full-time gig is Wright Patterson, and his part-time gig is Bethel.
Well, this is the kind of thing I believe in, it's just sort of tiptoeing towards fire districts.
Bethel, was that out of Midway?
Yeah. Yeah, that station's right up there on, was that Carlisle?
571?
Yeah, right off 571 and whoever is that. Goes up to Crystal Lake or Park Manor, whichever, Park Lane or Park Manor.
Any other questions? If not, I'll make a motion to enter into an agreement for the provision of fire rescue, emergency medical, and fire inspection services from Miami Township, Greene County, Ohio, to Bath Township, Greene County, Ohio, as laid out in said agreement in my hand.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion regarding this agreement? Entering into this agreement? We will also produce a resolution from using this as the basis of the resolution, but for the moment, we can officially enter into this agreement, and that's what this would be. Hearing no further questions, may we vote please?
Mr. Hollister?
Yes.
Mr. Crockett?
Yes.
Mr. Lucier?
Yes. So I'll sign that and email it, scan it, email it back to their representative. We're not using county prosecuting attorney for our representation, although they have been asked to do that, but they said they prefer not to simply because they represent both sides. And so they thought they couldn't, be maybe as fair as they should.
So who is this guy, Hill?
This is an attorney that Bath Township has used for other matters, other township matters in the past.
And they retained him for the negotiations with the,
Oh, yeah, right.
yeah, because initially they were just talking trustee to council or trustee to administrator or whatever, and then Fairborn retained an attorney for the negotiations, so that figured they should do that as well. Which apparently was a smart move.
Okay, anything else for fire department this evening? Pretty much new firehouse. I just spilled the whole beans with that one correspondence, that's all I heard back or forth.
Beans have been spilled.
So,
We look forward to
let me just double check.
January 16th and then
Yep.
another bid. What was our target for bid opening?
Whatever our first meeting in February would be.
Alright, this is right there, 30, the first, would be on or about the 6th.
Is that right?
I mean, the meeting's the 4th. Oh yeah, no, the meeting's the 4th, so, the 4th or the 18th of February, I can't remember, because there was a little period.
It's fourth. It was the first one. It was,
Oh, was it the first one?
Mhm.
That's right, yeah, because then, yeah, that gives enough time to review, I guess,
Mhm.
right?
okay. Cemetery and Road. If I might
Yes, sir.
tell a very brief story before we get started. Give interest to the crowd and general public too. Anyway, yesterday I was out looking at roads and driving here and there and came upon South River Road, and I got halfway down South River Road, right across from Steve Heller's house.
Wow,
Bob Heller, I'm sorry, Steve. And I said, there's a big old limb sticking right out in the middle of the road. I said, that's probably not a good idea. It wasn't actually right out in the middle of the road, but it was. It had already been out there and either fell and broke, or somebody clipped it and broke a chunk off, because there were chunks of it all over the place. It was a pretty good sized limb. So I said, I'm a good township guy, I'll stop and see if I can't move this thing off the road, and it was a little too heavy to push on my own. And I thought, well, maybe I'll get the chain out and pull it. I don't know, maybe I'll just get the old chainsaw out and cut a hunk of it off, and off we'll go. So I went out and opened up the chainsaw thing, and nothing in there. I thought, well, that's not gonna help me, is it? So, so I said, well, okay. So I ran back to the garage real quick and got the other chainsaw out of the newer truck that had the salt in it, which I noticed didn't have salt in it, but anyway. So I took it back out there and stopped traffic. Man, it's amazing how fast cars go down that road. I'm telling you, I realize what's 55, but it feels like they're going 155 when you're
working on the road.
when you're working on that road. So I get my chainsaw out, fire that baby up. Oh, wait a minute, one pull and
One point broke.
and the handle broke. Well, this is not my day. So I said, what shall I do? So I get in the truck and I said, this is a nice truck, but what the heck, it's probably got a push bar, or it should have a push bar in the front. So I just pushed that thing off the side of the road, and luckily it broke off a pretty good length of it as I was pushing, so I didn't have to push it very far or really risk damaging the truck. So we got that off. So that was,
Used a bumper,
yeah. Well, I used whatever hit.
whatever hit it.
So you're saying we don't have a chainsaw anymore?
Well,
No, I did.
let me, I'll figure get the rest of the story. So off I went, and
He
since
did
I was
say
on
it's
South,
short.
yeah, this is a short story. Went down South River Road, and then went up Kyle Road, and got halfway to Zot's house, and lo and behold, here's this great big branch. I think it felt like a big branch that had looked like it had just fallen because it knocked the mailbox off on the way down, and it was sitting. It wasn't across the road, but it was right on the berm. And I thought, in the middle of the night, somebody gonna come by and hit that thing. They're not gonna be happy. And unfortunately, I didn't have a chainsaw to cut it, but it was small enough that I was able to push it off with a bumper. So now, that leads me to this, Daniel. This is Christmas time, and the Board of Trustees is feeling very generous, so I would propose that tomorrow morning, when you come to work, you stop by Compton's and you buy yourself 3 nice brand-new chainsaws. And so we'll have, because in the future, when Don and Mark and I are out there clearing roads, you know, we like to have dependable equipment, and, you know, so
I need 3.
why don't we get one for a backup? That way we don't have to worry about that. And we'll have 2 nice new ones, which I know you're gonna use a lot, because like we talked about last meeting, at least in Glen Forest, I'm not sure about Clifton Cemetery, but I would like to get all those limbs out of there
They were
now.
down.
All the ones
They're
that are
gone.
down.
They're gone.
Well, then they all left today.
They did.
All right.
They didn't leave last week because it had anything.
I know, but,
They all left today.
okay.
I didn't know about South River or Powell because I wasn't out that way.
Did they leave in Clifton too?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that.
Sometimes a little slow, but I do get it done.
All right, and I would also like you to find a new home for all those chainsaw bodies that are lying around in the garage. There's at least a half a dozen.
They all run.
Well, I wouldn't know that.
So,
I'll make areas strictly for
No, just put a
they run, they all run.
Put a new chainsaw, or
So
put a
each
new
truck has a
chainsaw
saw.
in each truck,
Okay.
so it has a saw,
I'll do that.
so when we go out and clear the roads,
I'm all for good chainsaws. Do
Yeah.
they have to be new?
they do have to be new.
Oh, yeah. If we're gonna buy them, why would you buy a used one?
But I mean, if we already have functioning ones,
We could use another small.
We have old ones. We have old ones that are hard to start.
you know, I don't wanna fiddle around.
The last time I was out, where it was raining like crazy on High Road, and that tree was down and the cop was there, I tried pulling that chainsaw out of the truck and starting it, I couldn't get
The
it started.
same little saw.
The one that
Wouldn't
the
go.
head broke, yeah.
Usually it hits pretty good, you know, like choke it in 2-3 pulls, it hits, take it off, right up.
So if we
Okay,
If
sure.
you get the new saws, what do you do with, what are we allowed to do with old equipment?
Well,
Do we
we can't burn it, so.
Sell it through, doesn't the county have a,
There's-
organizes a sale for
I don't,
local
do this-
governments?
I don't think they do those anymore, do they? They used to do the county auction.
there's really no value
Okay.
for the $25 or $30.
Yeah, I think you guys get rid of them. However you wanna do that.
So anyway, so off to your report.
Where's it down?
Okay.
Bye, huge.
Yeah, well, I'll get another couple of small ones, I guess, they're nice to have.
Yeah.
Okay, got it,
What do you use?
still.
Oh, cool.
There was only one brand.
Well,
No, some of the
you gotta
places
go
around here
for
like,
work,
Husqvarna. I see what it is, Husqvarna.
So,
We used to, because they're on state contract too, which is nice.
Husky,
Yeah, I think so.
we get discount on it still.
Yeah, still's got
They actually
state-
get 20%.
Yeah, you got state contract
That's
prices.
what's, yeah. All right. Okay, cemetery, no burials. I'm not very busy.
yay,
My next thing was branches are all gone.
yay.
Did you ever get those cleaned up today? We got a new telephone pole behind the building today.
Hmm?
Yeah, the old one broke.
I didn't know that.
Broke, was leaning, and they went and took the pole down and tied the wire up, so it wouldn't harm anything in the village. It was
Power pole or telephone?
Forest?
Telephone pole, right behind the building. It broke off a couple weeks ago. Laying over behind the wire real tight. I called Johnny. Evidently it was on the list to be replaced anyway. So
Well,
they,
it's not a telephone pole, it's gotta be a power pole.
it's power, telephone pole holds power line. It feeds our building.
Some only hold telephone
Well,
wires.
this one holds what, holds electric.
You ever go up 343? You ever go up 343?
Yeah. A lot of poles hold old model bell down through there.
Yeah.
They snap all the time.
Yeah. But we got a new one down there, everything's cool now.
Okay.
Fix it too. Our water leak evidently is under the road, because the last ice event, it was not, no, it was not frozen there, so it's obviously warm. You can see it right across the road, the leak must be underneath the road.
Wait, on which road?
Innocent.
If
Can
that
see the
valve's
water.
turned off, how can it be leaking?
It's leaking, that must be
Did you
leaking,
see the water
there's some,
bill?
it's still leaking. That,
My house shut off valve doesn't shut off.
that could be, because it still leaks.
But I had shut that off in the fall, and I've taped that, you know, those valves that open those spigots?
Yeah,
They're pressure valves, they're not turn valves. You push them and you have to hold them, and we know he leaves them on.
right,
Well, I tape them open,
so that.
For the winter.
Right.
and no water comes out of
But
them.
maybe it's line feeding that pit where our valve is. It's still leaking. We have water coming up out of the ground. Obviously got a leak somewhere.
Mhm.
But I noticed on the last, ice last week, there was a bit of ice or something. That's pops. It was obviously getting moisture, it's warmer than outside temperature. So I'm gonna have to investigate some.
Mhm.
But it could be a feed line, I don't know, but you know, we shut the valve down, it was leaking real bad. And then we shut that water off, it seemed to settle down quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at a water bill for a month or two. Margaret, has the water usage been up?
Yep.
Do you recall what it is?
Double.
And
I
they
mean,
raised-
it's
they
usually,
raised
it's
rates
generally
too.
$10 a month, but this month it was $22.88 or something like that.
Can they raise the rates a little bit?
I don't think so. I don't know. All I know is that
There is an
it's,
increase
there's, you know, I just looked at it, well, something's still leaking because, because the
It's
water
not severely,
bill's twice,
it's
no,
obviously
no,
leaking.
but there's something going on, yeah.
So sometime I might have to open it up, it's on the list.
On the honeydew list.
Yeah, it's on the list. Okay. Oh, big tree down by the National Barrel on the road back to the shed, big tree for that.
Really?
You get, as soon as I get back there, people are too wet, soft to be back there messing around, so it's not hurting anything right now.
Yeah, a little bit hard
As
enough.
soon as it's that big cherry or something came out,
Hmm,
blocking the road. Ground tightens up on the fair, with my new chainsaw.
Mhm. it's gonna be a 16-inch saw or a 13 or whatever those little guys are. You can do a lot of cutting.
We got bigger saw.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
Okay, anything else for the cemetery, Sexton? How about the road administrator?
Yeah,
Did we set a meeting?
10 o'clock on Friday.
Here.
Are you going to that zoning conference on Friday?
Okay. Gonna get some cold patch tomorrow. Cold. I got a few holes. Yeah, tomorrow I'll get some.
You know, we talk about, people not being able to put asphalt, the asphalt plants shut down and stuff, but here, all over the village here in the last couple of days, they've been putting down asphalt like it's the middle of July.
Really?
Yeah,
Are they using a hot box? Are they pulling it out of a trailer?
it's
Off the truck?
it's a big truck with a, the regular thing.
The problem with us using a hot box.
Butler asphalt, you ever heard of Butler asphalt?
Yeah, man, then.
I don't think so. Anyway, they were putting it down, and those two new houses on Maple
Butler's
Street.
putting it in?
Mhm.
Oh, it's, yeah, they're probably running out of Jurgensen, probably Enid. We can't, I mean, to use hot mix for what I'm doing, it sets up for it, get it all down. Hot mix, can't cool off, it's hard, cold patch we can use year round. I'm gonna go get a couple tons of cold patch for now.
I guess where I was going was, if those guys could put something down, couldn't they put a strip or two on Houston Road, or, where it's really breaking up? Or wouldn't they do that small amount?
I'm not sure they would do that.
Uh-huh. I mean, they're doing driveways and parking lots, why wouldn't, that's not a whole lot different than down the middle of the road for,
They're doing it for the village?
no, this is private, this is for Home Inc., actually, that's who they're.
What I've seen has been for Vectren,
Right, they were doing two at the same time, but it was a different company.
and so it's like 6x6 plate or patch. and
Right, for kind of,
Sticking in
probably
the
do it for all
road.
these gas lines.
Yeah, they're doing
All
it
that
for
work, yeah.
fixing all that stuff.
Mhm.
It doesn't look like they're
I mean, I
stopping.
can call down the valley and see if it runs, like I can use Xenia's hot box for a couple tons at a time. The hot box, you can keep it warm,
Mhm.
but put it in a truck, the
Oh, I
temperatures
know.
don't cool off fast.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't know, whatever you think's best for keeping those big.
Well, I think I put cold patch in, even out in Houston, if I took the roller and rolled it in. it won't go through.
You think? That's not very deep.
Uh,
You could-
Cold patch works good on shallow stuff sometimes, not little fits, if it's half inch or about like that, it works pretty good.
Yeah.
But you gotta get it pounded down, you gotta roll it down. Well, I'm gonna get some cold patch if you use it. I'll call Valley.
That's fine. Who's got the roller, or you got it back now?
We have it.
Yeah.
We'd like to try to burn the pit this week sometime. People, good week for, hopefully,
Do a what?
burn the pit where we don't.
Yes.
It's pretty full. It's
Yeah.
not pressing, but I would like to get it burned if we could.
Did I ever tell you I went by there a month or so ago, and here the gate's wide open, and there's some big truck, big like, of the big county trucks, or the one we used to have, or whatever, but a big truck back in there with a trailer like 40 feet long behind it, up against there, and about 3 or 4 guys throwing crap into the pit. Holy mackerel, they're gonna fill that thing up.
That would be your zoning man.
Hmm?
If he wants to golf.
No way.
Yeah, we had a bunch of honeysuckle or something to get rid of. I said, you take it out there, I'm gonna burn a pit.
Where'd you get the equipment?
Bob McLean, Bob McLean's dump truck and trailer. He asked, could we put it, it's on there, I said, sure.
Yeah, okay.
For Township, I'm gonna,
I was just surprised how big a piece of equipment was back there.
yeah, he loads it all in the trailer by hand and unloads it by hand.
No kidding. All right, well, that answers that question.
Our gravel should be here this week. Told today that he'd be here this week. He was finishing up another job today, so. took care of
For
it.
what?
At the shop, some groundwork. I think that's all I have.
Okay, anything else for road administrator?
Yeah, I don't know that we need to take a lot of time in the meeting, but I'd like to tell you about a Saturday afternoon conversation with Dan Robino on Glen Road. You may recall it was a very warm day, wet day, and there was water going across the road, and then we just looked together, he hadn't really looked, but we found one culvert under the road. We found where water seemed to be running from somewhere on the downhill side of the road. Didn't see a culvert, but it was,
There's a culvert,
well,
40, 30 feet from this
anyway,
one
this is
driveway.
really, well, this doesn't have to be in the meeting, but just that there are some drainage issues there. I know you've done other things there last year.
Something must be plugged, he usually drains into that one pretty good. He's got a catch basin at the corner of his driveway, it's been plugged up for years.
Well,
And I'm not sure.
he's happy to, I shouldn't say, he sounded willing to do stuff himself or pay for stuff if he knew what to do.
Well, I'll be taking a look and see what's going on. Same morning.
He's
After
there,
I-
when he's in town, he's there, he's retired, so.
Yeah, he runs in and out all the time.
I've got his
And
phone number.
I think I've got it.
Just quickly, your drainage pipe on Lamont go in okay and
Yeah,
seem to be doing the job?
seems to be draining just fine.
Okay, good.
Looked at it today, as a matter of fact. Let's, I'll get some dirt on it, as soon as we can get some dry dirt, I'll go out there and dress that up for it. So we can get some dry stuff. Okay.
Back to fire real quick, did you ever hear from Otama about the new coverage?
Damn it all the heck. Yes, I did.
Okay. Sometime tell us about?
Yeah, I'll give you the highlights. I'll write your memo because it's all on my computer. But they're proposing, so I think I gave you guys the thing that they being Otarma, looked at our coverage, and then we submitted our inventory over the summer, and they found, currently of a blanket, like $145,000 loose equipment policy. We have about $580,000 in loose equipment. They felt that we were substantially underinsured there, and found stuff like our radios, that stuff wasn't covered, so they're proposing to break it out, and I'll have that for you. By the end of, like, some of the individual stuff, basically it's an $800 increase in the premium to cover all that stuff for something like $1 million of coverage, or $500,000 for that. Apparatus a little bit different, and that I think you guys will want to take a look at and see, because they're proposing going to actual replacement value. So if the truck rolls down the hill, we actually get the money to replace it with a new truck versus, and Chris and I've been there, done that with an old ambulance that was crashed, and the insurance company at that time only gave us like $25,000 for a $85,000 remount. That's more expensive.
Yeah.
We're looking at $4,171 increase to add $1.2 million of coverage. I don't know how necessary it is on the entire fleet, but certainly some of the more, the ambulances would be nice to have for replacement. But I'll memorize that and put it in the boxes tomorrow, so you guys can take a look.
Can we pick and choose on what?
Yes, yeah, he said we could definitely, kind of like cafeteria plan that. I mean, the loose equipment, I'd like to just go with the whole
Yeah.
recommendation, because we have a lot of stuff. And our inventory that they had received, I guess, from DFIS, who received it from whoever was before, good lord, I didn't realize we hadn't updated stuff. I mean, there was, thank goodness we haven't had a catastrophic loss here, because most of our loose equipment was not on there, so.
Did they value the building?
Not yet,
No, that, I didn't have that on my thing.
December 13th. That's a separate company then.
Oh.
I mean, it's provided by Otama, but it's a separate
There's
appraisal
a company on
company.
there, so.
Okay. Moving right along. Fiscal officer, please.
Two resolutions. First one is resolution 2018-52, amendment of permanent appropriations. The general fund increased Bureau of Workers' Comp by $154. Not sure why, but the Bureau of Workers' Comp mailed an invoice to pay by this month for the entire year, 2019. Not sure what they're doing, because they usually just give us money back anyway, but, anyway, so, increased, so all the funds needed increases in Bureau of Workers' Comp. Anyway, the general fund increased that by $154, and travel and meeting expenses by $150. In road and bridge, the Bureau of Workers' Comp was increased by $198. The cemetery fund, water and sewer was increased by $9, because, well, there's something going on. And contracted services in the cemetery fund was increased by $3,750. That's to pay for Cedar View's fourth installment of their annual contract that was discussed at the last meeting. The fire fund, BWC, was increased by $1,440. Travel and meeting expenses increased by $150, and natural gas was increased by $50. And EMS billing, training services was increased by $1,000.
Is there a motion to approve resolution 2018-52?
I would make that motion.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second?
Motion and a second, any further discussion regarding this resolution? Hearing none, may we vote,
And
please?
Mr. Crockett?
Yes.
Mr. Mucher?
Yes.
Mr. Hollister?
Yes.
Second resolution is quite familiar, I'm sure, to Mark and Chris, but this is, it's the resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. And this is based on basically the tax budget hearing that I went to this summer and presented, what monies we expect to get in 2019. And they basically then, upon looking at our numbers and so forth, they agreed to the tax levies and the percentages. And she said that they basically used based on what they know so far, specifically for the bond levy. And the rate is at 1.95 and expected to generate $304,000 for the year.
What was that rate on the ballot? It was 2 something, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that was anticipating a much higher percentage, interest rate. than what we would
I
be.
understand, but just that
Two
people are paying a lower rate
Mhm.
than we originally voted on.
Well, yeah, but it's gonna change,
Right, but
every once in a while.
but I think it's worth saying.
Mentioning?
Oh, sure.
Mentioning that,
Yeah.
you're not allowed to have it be higher, but you can be lower.
That's why we go to do that tax budget, because they need to hear from us that we do need the money, that the tax, we do need the tax dollars that, they're collecting.
And we need a general contractor too. Anyway, that's another.
That's another story
So I
altogether.
would like to have a look at that before I
Sure.
vote yes.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry, it's so long.
While I was looking at that, Margaret, the other day, did you sign the payroll certifications?
No, I'm sorry, I'll get those to you.
Okay.
Doesn't sound like you're really sorry.
Oh, I'm really sorry.
Okay. Just commenting on
Did you have anything else, Margaret?
No.
I'll move adoption of that resolution.
We have a
that.
motion?
I'll second that.
We have a second. Any further discussion regarding resolution 2018-53? Hearing none, may we vote, please?
Ms. Mucher,
Yes.
Mr. Hollister,
Yes.
Mr. Crockett,
Yes.
we don't have a zoning inspector's report. He's going to change over this month, or this meeting for next meeting, have the two interesting items on the agenda. Solar, which brings me, do you think you should contact either one of the people on the agenda and kind of stagger when they show up? Do you think they would be, either one would be more or less inclined to come, you know, half an hour
I'll do that.
early or late?
I'll check with
Okay.
Dale Arnold and with David Diamond.
Okay. I just thought of that earlier.
David Diamond, sounds like a gambler, professional gambler.
Sounds like a professional wrestler for some.
Actually, I think it's trumpet, actually, it's a trumpet player.
Oh, well, that works too.
I'd be happy to share this piece from our OSU Extension Agency, or Extension Service on solar farm lease considerations.
Okay, great.
Background for Dale Arnold next meeting.
Put that in the office for review.
And I distributed that at the Tecumseh Land Trust's landowner resource gathering.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're back to zoning, or we're still on zoning, and the only issue I had with zoning is, you know, we're going to continue our search for apparently replacing a couple of zoning commission members. But Don doesn't know this, Mark knows this, this is the time of year when we generally approve a gift card for each zoning commission member for their service, you know, as an appreciation, a token of our appreciation for their service for the past year. And we have done for many years a $100 card. So I see no reason it's not appropriate that we don't continue that, and I'll make the motion that we do offer that for our zoning commission members this year. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
This has passed the state auditor.
It has passed it for 20 years.
Okay, I'll support it.
Okay. No further discussion, may we vote please?
Mr. Muecher?
Yes.
Mr. Crockett?
Yes.
Mr. Hollister?
Yes.
The only new business that I had this evening was I found this morning that I'm double booked tomorrow evening for a meeting, both at the Farm Forum, I think that's called, and this commissioners meeting where we get our pretend check. And since I went out of pocket for the Farm Forum, I'm either gonna have to call and cancel my participation at the commissioners meeting, or certainly any other elected official of the group would like to go and represent us and receive the accolades and press and photo ops and whatever else they're gonna provide, maybe it's a bunch of cookies, I don't know. You're more than welcome to. Is there any interest?
I'm also going to the Farm Forum.
Right, good.
Where's this, where are we giving the award?
In that office, where you go to the budget hearings every
Next to
year,
the courthouse.
remember?
So this is a grant from the commissioners, right?
Yeah, it's just a.
Something like $5,000.
And what time is it?
I'll double check, Mark, I believe it's at 7.
Okay.
I do have that information though.
Okay.
I think it's around, ours is around 6,800.
Yeah, well,
It was a per capita,
right.
distribution.
Because I need to clear it with Gail,
Mhm.
since she's driving.
Yeah, well, if you could go, that'd be great.
Yeah,
I know they'd appreciate it.
I'd like to. So we'll check it out.
Okay. All right,
Actually, I'm fairly confident it's 7 o'clock,
you think? Okay.
so I saw an email about being a special meeting.
All right, any other new business this evening? Any old business this evening? We covered. Hearing nothing further, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Move second, it is so ordered.
Oh, this is a big day in the expanding the territory of firefighters.